Welcome, Sandman Nation. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We are the St. Louis Syndicate. We have a special guest on today, Mr. Ryan Ludwig. He's an honorary St. Louis Syndicate member for just this episode because he's a Chicago Cubs fan, and we will boot him as soon as this is over. Ryan has joined this year into Sandman. He's playing in For the Win for the first time, so he's just getting introduced to the Sandman games. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you.
He's got some great opinions. We've listened to Ryan. Brandon and I have played in many leagues over the years, and Ryan's usually in these with us. And he's a great sounding board for us, and hopefully you guys will get some fun insights.
He's doing great.
out of it.
He
Brandon, how's the little
sleeps
guy
most
doing?
nights. The feeding is
Yeah.
always the battle. He wants to eat about half as much of his food as possible and then go back to sleep. But it's been great. He's nice and healthy. Everybody, Nicole's recovering well. Yeah. Other than just being awake every
Mom's
3 hours, this is about as easy as somebody can try to get out from this. You know,
Better question. How are
he
his
he seems
picks?
to be rooting for the right teams. He loves the big screen. We come and lay down here,
Well,
and he just
I like that,
obviously
right?
is enamored with a 150-inch wall of lights. So he's been enjoying.
When we had kids, they played with little towel balls and things.
Yeah.
You lay them on a mat.
Yeah.
Brandon puts his in front of a screen with all these pretty colors and green, and
Here's your
he's
future
probably a
son.
Boise State fan.
Oh yeah,
He likes the blue background, all that kind of stuff. Well, Brandon, here we are. We'll talk a little pro football. We're going to combine our shows. This is our top five power ranking episode with the top five dreaming, and we'll pick a few games. We'll blend it all together. Let's start real quick, though. You'll see I got a lightning bolt on our cloud pointing at the Ravens. You were telling me before we started about the
yeah.
Ravens. What are
No,
you
but
thinking
the
about the
survivor
Ravens and
pick for
Survivor
everybody
ranking?
that's made it this long and has seen the lines obviously knows if you have Baltimore left, everything is pointing towards taking them being 17 and a half or 18-point favorites, depending on where you're booking from. Yeah, I kind of backed into this because they were kind of shaky all year, and I just didn't want to pick the wrong game. But after the last 3 weeks, I have a hard time going anybody is better than them or Kansas City right now. So hopefully that will get me through the last week. And we'll see what they can do for us in the playoffs.
So that's an interesting comment there, Brandon. We're talking about our top five. You think
Well,
that they
I'd
maybe
say,
should be in the top
it
five? Is
depends on
that
how
what I'm
you want to
hearing?
attack top fives. When we kind of go into this and go, here's a power ranking, it's hard for me to go, hey, these other teams have played very well all year. And then because of things that have happened the last couple of weeks, I feel like going into the playoffs, they have some negatives going against them all of a sudden. To then just go, I'm going to drop them all the way down, seems like it's not really, in the spirit of what we're trying to do here. But yeah, for me, the Chiefs and Baltimore, I don't know who's better than the two of them today with the teams that are healthy and on the field.
I like it. I like it. Arguably, the Lions. Ryan, what do you think there when we talk about the Ravens and the Chiefs? Are they your top two AFC teams? Are they your top? Are they the top two teams in the NFL?
I don't know if I could definitively say that, but I'd definitely have the Ravens in my top five. I'd probably push. I might push the Eagles out. I don't know. I don't
Is
know.
that with the Hurts injury, or is that when Hurts is healthy?
I think he'll be fine. But when they're healthy, they're still tough to beat. But I think Baltimore would get them
Okay.
second time around.
Well, Brandon, the Vikings are making an appearance here, really since middle of the season. We really haven't put a lot of faith in the Vikings. The Packers have drifted in and shown. The Vikings are making an appearance in the Power Five for the first time in several weeks. They do have a big game this week against the Lions. What are you thinking about Detroit minus 2.5 after
I'm
how
going
they
to end
came
up
in
on
San Francisco?
Minnesota. Like, yeah, unless some people can put some really good analysis out between now and Sunday, watching the last couple of Detroit games and watching the last couple of Minnesota games, um, makes me think that Detroit, you might not be able to stop them. It may be that the only way that they don't end up getting some sort of points is a turnover. Um, but I think Minnesota has the defense that can create a turnover. And Detroit just doesn't have the defense to stop Minnesota. It's kind of hard to 18 weeks in go, yeah, but Sam Darnold. So I give. He got me. You know, like I kept waiting for this to be a normal year, and um, you know, it never turned into a normal year. The favorites always win and cover. Sam Darnold is a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't know, but it is what it is this week, and I'm going to be on that side of it. Where are you going to land at?
I am probably going to go with the gambler, Dan Campbell. Anytime somebody's turning in rates of every 10 fourth downs, I'm making 8 of them. At least it appears that way. Probably factually, Brandon, you could put some put your finger on some numbers that say otherwise, but it sure feels like every time he goes for it, the Lions are making it, and it was really evident yesterday. Ryan and I were out at a bar watching the game, listening to music, and it seemed like the struggle became for San Francisco's defense when they couldn't get off the field. These defenses try to celebrate a win
Right.
on third down because they're getting off the field. Yeah. And they are not doing that, and they're tired, and they're having to play a little bit more. And by the end of the game, they were gassed, and the receivers were flying around, and the running backs. I mean, look at Gibbs, man. He broke 2 or 3 big ones, and that partly is because the line is gassed after not being able to get off the field for 3 quarters. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with all that. I think this week I like Minnesota catching the points. I think long term though, depending on who might be coming back on that defense as we progress into the playoffs, I probably still would lean Detroit to survive longer in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But this week I like Minnesota.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting game. Right now, it says that Minnesota is favored by a half, right, on a neutral field. Is that what they're saying? So, I mean, that's pretty interesting. So, I'm really looking forward to that game. I think it's gonna be major. As far as our power rankings go, one final note, Brandon, we've got Buffalo and Kansas City at 2 and 2A. Very difficult to go against the Chiefs. They're getting healthy. They're getting their players back. And they are basically going to rest for the next 2 weeks. We'll see ultimately in the playoffs if that hurts them, having so much time off. I believe that Andy Reid and team are professionals, though, and if there's any team that can handle that and not let it slow them down,
Yeah,
it
I
could
would
be a
agree.
Reid coach team.
It always scares me when we go, hey, let's just not play football in the middle of the season. But the way that they play, I just go, okay. I mean, I guess this is gonna work. And look, they are at the end of another very long season, tacked onto the back of a bunch of very long seasons, and I guess you get your rest where you can, and then just hope it works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Great point. So the last thing we got thrown up here, just kind of for fun, Denver controls their own destiny. While we don't have their logo on the page, Denver wins, they're in. But Cincinnati can cause some noise. We got Cincinnati, Pittsburgh on here. Really like how the Bengals have been playing. Burrow and T. Higgins pretty much carried me to a fantasy championship. I don't do a lot of fantasy football, but I do one league, and I happen to win it this year. So shout out to Burrow and the Bengals. How do we think they're going to play out against Pittsburgh? Do you think they're going to just roll them? Burrow's playing for something, right? I mean, are we thinking over here against Pittsburgh? They're going to come out and really do some damage? I mean,
The over is
45
interesting
and a half, 46 and a half.
because the issue that I've got is I don't. Pittsburgh might have turned back into a pumpkin. We kind of waited and waited and waited, and we finally gave up right about the week that it all stopped working. And I don't know what's going to
Yeah.
happen this week. I mean, the upside will be that they're playing against a worse defense, right? Cincinnati doesn't have much of a defense at all, so that could help um, Pittsburgh kind of get some chunk plays and do that thing again. But um, man, it would astonish me if Cincinnati lost this game.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back early in the year. You kept
Hmm.
talking about Russ cooking with his moon ball, right? Pickens went out, and oddly enough, and you don't see this happen very often with a team who is defensively as talented as Pittsburgh, have so much reliance on a receiver that's separating the field. The running game's closed down. Pickens was making plays
Uh-huh.
down the field. He was getting pass interferences. He was catching the moon balls. They are not a team that's stretching it right now. When you watch Pittsburgh, they feel very one dimensional. And I'm a little surprised because that defense usually will overcome for that
Yeah,
weakness in
yeah.
Pittsburgh, and it
I,
hasn't
I just
happened
I
this year.
think that for this particular game, because Cincinnati is in like the bottom five of defenses, we may see that moonball come back, and so that definitely leans the direction of taking the over. I think there's already been
Oh,
a lot of movement on the over, so it looks like 48,
Last
48 and a half is
week there
what
was
is kind of consensus out there right now, and that we've kind of climbed from more like
yep.
the
there was
47 range. So to go, hey, I'm going over 48 and a half, which is kind of a key number, starts to get a little worrisome, but this very well could be one of those 40 to 30 games and it not matter.
So
82
Mr.
points.
Cub over here goes to the record books as
Well,
we're looking. What do you got?
this is relative recent history. This is
Yeah.
December 1st game. There was 82 points scored in this game.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we could do
It
half
got
that and still
crazy.
almost cover.
It just came
I mean, I
unglued.
82.
think the over's a lot. It got crazy. It got crazy, and the Bengals are going to continue to press, and I think the Steelers are as well. I'm off Pittsburgh. I don't believe in them, but that's exactly when I should probably pick them.
What makes me nervous is they scored that many points. Now I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm going, this is going to be a classic Pittsburgh grounds and pounds, and Burrow's going to fumble 3 times, and it's going to be
Well,
like 14-7.
They're gonna like playing the Cincy defense after going up against the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. I mean, there's
and the
gonna
one
be some
thing to keep in
space to
mind
score some points.
is that
Could be.
um, if Baltimore wins, they've got the early game on Saturday. So they win. Pittsburgh can no longer catch them. So then it's just Pittsburgh deciding whether they want to be the 5 or the 6 seed with the Chargers. So if they really want to
Uh-huh.
go to Houston instead of Baltimore, they still need to go out there and try to win. But if they go, hey, like obviously nobody in their right mind would rather play Baltimore than Houston, but that is one of those things that like if the game starts to get away from them, they may not mount the comeback. So that may be something to take into account.
True.
Rest guys.
True. True. So it may be one of those games where you want to stay and go in
Right.
live. So this is where Eric Bierman would be coming in saying, hey, you want to bet
Or take like
this after
Pittsburgh
you've
first
watched a
half
quarter and see how it's going.
numbers and go, and then if it's working well,
Yeah.
then maybe get in live
Yeah.
at some point, or to go, hey, if I
Press it.
think that Pittsburgh is the better team, okay, how many points can I get in the first half, and then maybe
Yep.
go, okay, if they're not close, then then they take their foot off the gas at the end, or you never quite know how that back half is going to work because yeah, the Chargers don't play until the afternoon on Sunday. So yeah, they've kind of got that piece where they can lock themselves into
Pittsburgh's
the
not going to
five
know.
seed by beating Cincinnati and Cincinnati's season. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
They've got incentive to play. Pittsburgh has incentive to play.
I'd
Yeah,
much
because
rather
Houston's
them beat
dead.
Houston than
Yeah.
Baltimore
Oh,
first round.
God, yes.
And I don't think they can fall to
No.
7 because even if the Broncos win, I think they beat the Broncos earlier in the year in the head-to-head, so they can't fall to 7.
So it's either 5 or 6.
And if they fall to, you don't want to fall to 7 either, obviously.
No.
It's either 5 or 6 or 3.
I wouldn't want to go to Buffalo or Baltimore in
Yeah.
this scenario. So,
Yeah,
well, that makes a lot of sense. So I think the over's in play.
there you go.
Fellas, that's my best bet of the week.
Ha.
Bet that over. Hey, let's talk college. We got a big game on the slate today. Brandon, who you got, man? We got Penn State and Boise State with
I am laying
Penn
the
State
11.
favored
I
by
think
11.
Penn State smothers Boise State.
Okay, I'm laying on Boise State because I think Penn State's a second-class citizen. I thought that last week when they rolled SMU, and I'm going to stick with my guns. They're still a second-class
Look, I was at
citizen.
SMU too.
You might have the best player left
Who
in the
might have
tournament.
the best player left, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to stay with Boise State's running game, being able to keep this game a little bit closer. I think that they're going to strategically come in and try to chew clock. I think it's going to play closer. Now, our guest picker, Mr. Cub over here, where are
Yeah.
you sitting on?
I don't like either. I don't like either. I don't think either of these teams are worthy of a Final Four recognition, but we're going to get it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get it, and I think I just have a hard time saying that's going to be Boise. So,
Are you picking winners or are you picking against the spread? Here?
it's spread. It's going to be Penn State. It's going to be Penn
Okay.
State. Not by much.
All right.
I think the number's perfect, right where it's at. It's going to be
right.
somewhere in that 10 to 13 range.
All right. Well, that works. Well, the next game, fellas, I'm just telling you right now that Texas is going to roll hook 'em. I'm telling you, it's all Texas all day. I've got my confidence in for the win all over them at 14.5 because, Bill, you locked it too early. But we're going to rock and roll. Now, we got 12 on the page right now, and I'm sticking with my 12.
Yeah.
Brandon, now you talk about second-class citizens. I'm thinking this is Texas is like, in your class 6 in high school against Arizona State, who's class 3 in high school.
I'll tell
They
you,
just
I
don't
like
have
Arizona
the horses,
State better
guys.
than I like Boise State. Just obviously we don't have a losers bracket for this. These guys don't have to go play each other. But if you flipped them, I would be more worried about
Double
the
win
Penn
it.
State pick. At 12, I'm going to lay the 12. We're up to 14.5 in the for the win contest. So I went ahead and took the 14.5 for that contest, and hope we just middle it somewhere in here. Like a perfect, 28-14 sort of situation,
There you go.
would help me a bunch. But, yeah, I don't know who got me on Arizona State early in the year, but they were very helpful. Like, that team's better than, the conference makes them look, but they're not, I can't imagine them beating Texas. Like, that would be insanity.
That'll be fun to see. Mr. Cub,
I'm reluctantly on Texas. I like the 12 better than 14 and a half.
reluctantly on Texas. He spent half the
this-
morning trying to convince me
I
otherwise.
think this is more of a single digit, honestly. But I can't.
Uh-huh.
I'm worried about a backdoor cover, but I think this. I think this is going to be close. I'll take the 12.
All right.
Lay the
all
12.
right. Well, we're going to jump right over. We're going to start with Mr. Big Ten. So Ryan is, Chicago guy, Illinois through and through. Really likes Big Ten his whole life. Gotta be an Ohio State Oregon matchup right here. What are we thinking? You gotta be on somebody big, right?
Yeah, I'm big on Ohio State here.
Yeah.
This is strictly nothing more than Oregon got him the first time. They're going to get him this time, and 2.5 is good. 3.5, I'd be more nervous, but I like the 2.5. I'm all Ohio State.
2.5 is
and
a
the
good
way that
number.
they looked, I realized it was. To me, there's 3 tiers in this playoff. There's the bottom tier, and then there's for me there's a top. The middle tier for me is kind of that Tennessee, Penn State. I think Georgia's in the middle tier, frankly.
Yeah.
And I don't think Ohio State had to beat a really good team at home,
Correct.
but the way they looked, oh,
Right.
I'm not going to bet against them until I have to.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not this game.
I
I
think.
hear you. Well, I'm on Ohio State as well. Mine's really simple. Ohio State, I think they're not going to lose twice to Oregon, and it's that
Uh-huh.
simple, and they're going to cover easily. Now, Brandon, of course, every week in this has picked against
I
Oregon
think
because
they
he
were
thinks
not
they stink.
prepared,
Brandon,
and
who
I
you
was
got
proved
this
wrong.
week?
I'm taking Oregon. I think we're, yes, I think we're going to find out that
Oh, he's on
Tennessee
Oregon.
was wildly unprepared for the first game, and that Ohio State going out there and just
Yeah.
um, eviscerating them. This game is going to be a huge step up, and if I'm getting points with the number one team in the country at a neutral site, uh, I think we're going to find out that as much as
Yeah.
I bought into, hey, these teams moving conferences, it's going to take them a second. They're taking steps up in class. And then Texas and Oregon both proved me wrong. Um, I am using these picks as my pittance for this. Um, and hopefully these guys will carry me through.
All right. I
Yeah.
like it. I like your approach. Right? You're thinking through it logically, and he's on it, and he's catching points, right? Anytime you're catching points
Yeah.
with the number one team in the nation, that's a good thing. So you gamblers out there, follow the degenerate rules, right? Catching points with number one's always a good thing. But on to the greatest game of the weekend, Notre Dame versus Georgia. I got to tell you guys, I'm here with Ryan. We're down in Florida at his house. Okay, Ryan lived in St. Louis for years. He still does part time. He's kind of back and forth. So he's a pseudo member of the St. Louis Syndicate. But down here in Florida, what we're going to try to do is find a Georgia bar and go in with our Notre Dame gear on and root
Oh,
against
that is
these
how I would handle it as
dogs.
well.
Hey, it is. There's a lot of Georgia fans down here. It is not going to be
Not
hard to
going to be
find.
hard to find. So we're going to go in. I got the Notre Dame gear blaring. I've got my hoodie. I've got my T-shirt. I'm ready to rock it. Notre Dame +1 all the way. I've got Notre Dame in in El Perfecto, which I failed, already out of. I had Notre Dame losing to Texas in the championship game, so I got Notre Dame
I
advancing
do
from
as
four
well.
times. So,
Yeah, no, I'm on
Brandon,
Notre
any
Dame.
thoughts on this one? Yep.
I took them and kind of locked them in early in another pool where I had to pick all of the games kind of out into the future, and so I need them to get through. I need this freshman backup quarterback, whoever the hell, kind of came in and just got through the SEC championship game to find out what real pressure's like,
Yep.
and
hmm
hopefully Notre Dame's defense will do their job.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the wrong team's favorite here.
Yeah.
I got Notre Dame probably a 1.5 to 2.5 point favorite. So I'm kind of the opposite of. It's not the same theory as if you're getting points with number one. I think I'm getting points here with the better team, and I'm going to take them. I know Beck wasn't playing well for Georgia. He did not have a good year as expected, but he at times could get hot and really help Georgia. I just don't think they have the Lad McConkey's not walking on the field. Brock Bowers is not walking. This might be the worst Georgia team in the last
No.
5 years. They are not going to make the semifinals. It's Notre Dame all the way.
And seeing the talent with what Ladd and Brock have done in the NFL, those guys,
Those were-
big, and their defensive linemen that have been, I mean,
Third down security
No.
blankets. Move the chains. He just doesn't have that this year. And,
Yeah.
and I think they got a great defense, but so does
I'll
Notre
tell you
Dame.
yeah,
this:
no, it's going to be
if
outstanding.
you
Can't wait.
if
Go
you think
Irish.
Georgia is gonna win, you definitely want to pair that with the under. Because that's really the only way this gets home is Georgia's defense just plays out of their
Yeah.
mind. And this turns into some sort of, 14,
Yeah.
13, 14-10 sort of game.
Man, I don't see that. Notre
No,
Dame's got
that's
a
why they're one of
really
my
good
highest
rushing
picks
attack.
this week. Like,
Yeah,
I think they're just gonna strangle Georgia. But Georgia's got a real defense, so they're gonna come in there and they're gonna throw punches until Notre Dame breaks them.
oh, fun fact: Ryan's son Mikey played football
Oh,
against Aeneas Williams in high school, who is running up and down the field against people in college. You should have seen him run up and
no,
down the
yeah.
field against us in high school. Holy hell, that was
My brother
this
used to
guy
send me
was
videos
up
of
and
him all
down
the
the
time,
field.
One of the
going
best.
out there and playing in Lincoln County and
Man,
whatnot.
talent.
The dude was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just rolling. So that was a lot of fun. But,
Awesome.
well, Sandman Nation, that's it for the St. Louis Syndicate. Those are your picks. He's Brandon. I'm Nate. This is Ryan.
Cheers,
Welcome
everybody.
in.
That was fun.
Good luck with your picks.